The federal NDP's anti-Israel problem is now a provincial one. It's right out in the open, and there isn't a peep about it in the mainstream media. This fellow you're looking at here is Irfan Sabir. He's a provincial NDP cabinet minister here in Alberta. In fact, he's Alberta's Minister of Community and Social Services, who, I suppose, became most notable in the last 3.5 years for just simply forgetting to hand over a file of a little girl who was tortured, starved, and killed while she was in supervised government care to the RCMP so that her family could get some justice for her in death. Now, I say that just so you know the high level of individual that we are dealing with here today. I want you to see this tweet from Irfan Sabir. Now, the campaign, it hasn't kicked off yet in Alberta, but that hasn't stopped the NDP from making campaign-style pronouncements, campaign-style spending promises, and of course, showing off their campaign offices. Irfan tweets, "Getting my new campaign office ready with the help of my amazing Calgary McCall team. To find out how you can help out, send us a message." That picture that you're looking at is carefully staged and produced. Everything from the poses to the t-shirts to the lighting has been very carefully selected to send a message to the viewer. This picture, it doesn't say anything the NDP doesn't want it to say. Now, I want you to look at the t-shirt of the girl in the black. It's hard to see and you may have to zoom in a little, but it says, "How would you feel?" And then it shows 4 different maps of the state of Israel. It's a pro-Palestinian t-shirt that uses boycott, divestment, and sanctions propaganda to make it seem as though the Jews are stealing the land of Israel from the Palestinians over time and that nobody seems to care. The shirt itself implies that the indigenous people of Israel have no ties or right to the land where they have literally always been, where they legally own property, work, go to school, have built lives, where they farm, grow food, and so on. And when I say it's propaganda, it's not just propaganda. It's actually really bad propaganda that has been debunked time and time again. In fact, liberal-leaning cable news channel MSNBC had to issue a retraction and a correction because they broadcast those maps as a graphic and it was completely wrong. According to the Washington Free Beacon, in 2015, MSNBC News, after broadcasting a version of the maps that are on that girl's t-shirt in Sabir's photo, had to issue an on-air correction with a spokesperson saying, "In an attempt to shed light on the geographic context of the Israeli-Palestinian issue, we aired a map that was factually wrong." The map itself has been linked to anti-Semitic conspiracy groups that are trying to spread the idea that Jews are just gobbling up land like a viral infection as opposed to, winning wars they didn't start. The dishonest map implies that before the creation of the State of Israel, that the lands were under Palestinian control when that has never been true. The lands were part of a British mandate. In fact, since the creation of the State of Israel, Palestinians have more autonomy than they've ever had before, for better or for worse. Now, over the last 1.5 years or so, the NDP as a whole, both federally and provincially, have been a lot more upfront about their hatred for the State of Israel. Venezuelan dictator-loving NDP MLA Rod Loyola spoke at a rally at the Edmonton legislature to protest the United States' move of their embassy to the eternal capital of the State of Israel, Jerusalem. Loyola used to be involved with the Palestine Solidarity Network, which helped organize the protest that day. Now, according to the Edmonton Journal, at that rally, Loyola accused Israel of committing human rights violations. He said, and I quote, "The human rights atrocities that continue to happen there should be front and center," end quote. Let's be clear here. Rod Loyola is saying that A, Israel doesn't have a right to say where its own capital is, like literally every other country on the face of the earth, and that B, defending yourself from being pushed into the sea by jihad is now a human rights crime. Thanks, Rod. And about a year ago, actually February 2018, the keynote speaker at the NDP's national convention was Tamika Mallory. She's also involved, of course, in the Women's March. Tamika Mallory makes no secret of her vocal support for virulent anti-Semite and leader of the Nation of Islam, Louis Farrakhan. She called him the greatest of all time, while he has called Jews termites, evil, and blamed them for the slave trade and for Black oppression. Now, I would suggest that Irfan Sabir and the rest of the NDP have a lot more beliefs in common with the alt-right than any normal, self-respecting conservative does. They both think that Israel is a crime. But Sabir, well, he's getting a pass, and you won't see anything about this in the mainstream media because you just can't trust the mainstream media to tell you the truth. For the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. What you just saw there is the daily video that I do here at The Rebel, but I also have my own weekly full-length show. It's aptly called The Gun Show, and we talk about issues facing Canadians in a way that you won't see done in the mainstream media. Now, to get access to the video version of my show, you need to treat yourself to a Rebel subscription today. But you can also find the podcast audio-only version of my show available at therebel.media/shows or on any of your favorite podcast directories. And while you're there, please leave us a 5-star review.